with this week, we're just like, we have so much going on today. I'm really excited. Today, though, I've heard from so many of you recently about barking. My dog won't stop barking, is what I keep hearing, right? My dog won't stop barking. My dog barks at every postal worker. My dog barks at the neighbor's dog. My dog barks at the wind. Like, what's going on? They're barking at the window and there's nothing there. What is going on? They keep us up in the middle of the night and we just need help. And here I am. I'm here to help. So let's get started. Before we get started, though, I want to mention that tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern Time, I will be hosting a masterclass called Keep Your Dog's Attention. And I'm really, really excited about offering this class to you guys for free. It's a great class. I will be sharing with you my 3 favorite ways to keep your dog's attention, and I'm also going to be talking about an upcoming class that is going to blow your minds. I'm really excited to share that with you. So if you haven't signed up already, please, there will be information all over the page, all over our group, Paw Prints University Classmates, for you to sign up and join me this evening at 7 o'clock Eastern Time. So before we get to that, we have today, we have right now, right here. So let's get started on talking about barking. And, we need to find some practical solutions. We can talk about it all day long, but let's talk about what we can do. So, why does your dog bark at every person on the street? And how do we get them to stop barking at the middle of the night? Our puppies, like, why are they doing that? Why do they bark when they're in their crate? Why do they bark when they want attention? So really, there's different ways and reasons why dogs bark. Sometimes they're doing it for attention. Sometimes they're doing it because they're scared, so it's a defense. Sometimes they're doing it to, just like if the mailman comes every day at a certain time and they bark, guess what happens? The mailman leaves. The mailman leaves. So they figured out this connection. We need to think like a dog and think, okay, so the mailman comes and I'm going to bark, and then the mailman leaves. So the next day he's like, well, that worked. I'm going to try that again. And so it becomes this pattern and a routine where he's like, well, I know what's going to happen. If I bark enough, that guy's going to leave. And he doesn't know that the reason why the postal worker is leaving is because he's going on to the next house. Like, it has nothing to do with what the dog did. However, the dog thinks that he did something that made the postal worker leave. So we need to think like a dog and figure out what we can do by teaching them something else to do and giving them an opportunity to change how they're reacting when the postal workers come. That's one example. Why is my puppy barking in the middle of the night? Well, if you have a young puppy, they may need to go to the bathroom. That's simple as that. And so, we need to be aware of their needs and figure out like what happens, like why they're barking in the middle of the night. So sometimes they're doing it because they need to go to the bathroom. Sometimes they're doing it because guess what? Every time they bark, they get attention. So they've learned over time that barking is going to get what they want, which is attention. So that goes back to the same thing about the postal workers. So they're going to bark and then they get rewarded by the mail carrier leaving. So that's just one other way that they're getting attention. Sometimes they bark because they're scared, right? So it's a defense thing. So they get growly and they bark. Especially, I hear a lot of people say that my dog barks on walks. Yeah, they do. They bark on walks because they're scared. Why are they scared? The other dog is way far away. Well, they start to learn over time that they are attached to this leash. And so it's called barrier aggression. They have this barrier, a leash, a fence. So sometimes your dogs go outside in the yard to play, and when a person or dog walks by, they bark. And they're stuck behind this barrier. And that's really scary for them. They feel like they can't defend themselves the way a normal dog would. They also can't go up and greet a dog the way they want to. So for example, my dog Jilly likes to bark at other dogs because she didn't know until we trained her how to greet other dogs. So she would see another dog and say, I want to play with that dog. I want to play. And she couldn't, she couldn't get to that other dog because we were far away. And so she got upset and scared, and there were all kinds of reasons why she kept barking, and we needed to teach her another way to greet. So you're going to learn some ways that dogs can greet tonight in my masterclass. And today we're going to talk about just different simple things that we can do. Like I said, we have different kinds of barks. They're barking because they are scared. They're barking to defend themselves. They're barking for attention a lot of times. And one of the things that I often suggest to people to do when a dog is barking in seemingly all day long and all night long, and no one can sleep, no one can work, no one can be in a class, we're all home a lot now. So what can we do, right? And a lot of the things that I see in dogs is that they're not actually barking as much as we feel like they are. So I ask for you guys to keep a log for a few days of every time they bark, how long they bark, what is happening when they're barking. So are they barking at the mailman every day at 10 a.m.? Are they barking every night after dinner when you guys are all trying to settle down and watch TV and they want one last bout of attention? Like, when are they barking and what does it sound like? So there's different types of barks. And as we get to know our puppies and as we get to know our dogs, we can recognize a different bark. We know what it sounds like. Like, I know that my dog barks when she wants to come inside the house after playing in the backyard for a little bit. I'll hear her bark. And I know exactly what that bark is. I know what she wants, and I'm able to respond to it. So, and that one I'm okay with because that one lets me know she's ready to come in. And she also doesn't bark incessantly. It's just like it's almost like a doorbell. So I hear the doorbell and I go running to let her in. And that one is okay with me. And that's the next thing I wanted to share with you guys is that when are barks okay? So dogs don't bark as much as we think they do or we feel they do a regular low stress environment. So they're not going to bark incessantly. And so that's just not how they communicate as much as they're more visual than audio learners. So they also express themselves with their body movement more than the way that they're barking. So you can recognize that, like, if there's too much barking, if it's bothering you, that's when I recommend keeping a bark log and seeing like how often they're doing it. And then you can work with a trainer like me or someone else to really evaluate like how we can change that behavior. So we want to give them alternate compatible behaviors, which I often talk about, just something else to do to replace that behavior. So that's the other thing too. We also want to talk about, every day at 10 o'clock, they bark at the postal worker, or all day long, my dog stares out the window and barks at everybody who walks by. How do I get them to stop? So many of you are not going to like this answer. The very first thing that I'm going to recommend to you is that you block the area where the window is or where the door is, where the place is where your dog is barking. And the reason why I say that is because the less opportunity they have to bark out the window, the less opportunity they have to react to those triggers, it's going to alleviate. First of all, they're going to stop barking. And they are going to be reconditioned to do something else. They're not going to notice it as much. It's not going to be the only thing they're focusing on. Because right now what's happening is your dog is on alert the whole day. That is stressful. That is stressful for them. It is stressful for you. It is stressful for every delivery person who comes up and hears a dog, no matter how big or small they are, barking at them. It's stressful. So what my goal is to reduce that fear, anxiety, and stress in everything we do. And we need to start with the basics. And one of those things is removing that window. So by blocking the area, whether you close off the door, whether you put up an X pen, whether you block off the couch, if they lay on the couch, so a lot of people have, a sofa where the dog lays up on the top of it, or a windowsill or something like that. And so they're constantly like this on guard, and that's not fun. So I hear you when you say, I want my dog to be able to look out the window and be relaxed. Well, first we need to stop the opportunity, and then we can reintroduce it once we have alternate compatible behaviors. So they will do something else when another dog walks by. They will do something else when the postal carrier comes with a delivery. But first, we have to block that area. If you're not able to block the area, one suggestion that I also give to people is that you can either close the curtains or blinds. You can even use they make these like films that go over the window so the light still comes in, but the visually can't see. And that's another option for you. So you can block it. You can just do the lower half, like just from here down, so you can still see out, but your dog can't. And you'll still get the light coming in. That's another alternative. If you can't block the whole room off or that area of your home, you can do that in doorways too. So if you have windows on the side of your doors, let's say, or you have your door open on a nice day, and have the screen door open, so you could block off the bottom half with one of those sticker things. I'm talking about that. So it blocks off the visual, but you would still get the fresh sunlight coming in. So those are other ideas that you can do in doorways and in the windows in your rooms of your home if you're not able to completely block your animals out of that space. So those are some suggestions for barking outside. I also want to remind you guys of my 3 key strategies I talk about a lot, which are practice, patience, and consistency. And we will go over all of those with lots of examples tonight in my masterclass. You guys, I'm so excited. We have been working so hard on this, and I have put together a course for you guys that is really good. It is thorough, and it can be something that we can do together. I'm going to be with you guys tonight and through this whole experience. And I want to just share with you all the fun things that we've put together for you. So I really hope you can come check us out tonight. And let's see, I have a question. Emma asks, can they be desensitized? Yes. That is one of the other tips I was going to share with you today. So thank you for reminding me. So to the barking triggers. So do you mean when other dogs bark at your dog, or do you mean the triggers like when they see another dog? So I will answer the question of can they be desensitized, meaning every time they hear the postal carrier come up, do they have to bark? No, and that's what I'm talking about as far as like creating these alternate compatible behaviors. So one of the things that you can do is when people walk past. Okay, thank you, Emma. So when people walk by the house, what can we do to help desensitize your animals? So one of the things first, Emma, the first thing we need to do is block the area. It's too much to do it all at once. We have to start in small doses. So you want to first block the area off and not have them have access to that space. You also need to anticipate it coming. One of the things you can do is get some friends to be people walking by, and so you set it up. You set up the situation. And so what you can do is, I'm looking out the window like someone's going to walk by. So what you do is you would have someone walk by at a certain time, and you would know when they're going to walk by, and you would be with your dog working on these alternate behaviors. So you would have something else to do during that time to help distract them. It's something you would have to do, repeat it several times. You would have to work on it. You would have to be on top of it. We have a whole training for that because it's important. I mean, it's too much, especially if we live, let's say, in an apartment building, right? And so we are in close quarters with people, and it's too much to have your dog barking at everybody, either walking down the hall inside, or even if you are, let's see, on a first floor garden, patio type thing. And so you have a lot of neighbors and there's a lot of people walking by and your dog is barking a lot, whether you are home or not. That can be really troublesome for your neighbors. So we want to alleviate the stress for them and for your dog. You guys, listen. I know, I hear you say, I want my dog to look out the window and enjoy. I get it. And we have to first make sure that their stress levels are down, because when they get raised up, they have no coping mechanisms. They just don't. So, yeah, okay. And Shauna has a great question too. So I'll answer this one. So this one says, let's see, can I pull this up into here? I can. Can you guys see that? I'm learning new tricks too while I'm training. What happens if they're barking even with blinds closed? My dog tends to do this whenever she hears something but can't see. So yeah, that's a great question. So that's when Emma was talking about the desensitization. That's when this would kick in. So what she was mentioning, and what I will try to help you learn in the next couple minutes. This is a longer discussion as far as the step by step. These are things that we'll go over for like further down the line in classes. But so yeah, the blinds are closed and they still hear everything. What can we do? The simple things you can do, you can have some either music playing, something that's distracting. Maybe, I don't know how your home is set up, but if there's a way to keep them out of that area while you're initially getting the desensitization and the other alternate behaviors set up, so you can work on that as well. You want to make sure that you are offering them some kind of, you want to help them anticipate. So every time they hear, what ends up happening is every time they hear someone walk by, instead of barking, they're going to do something else. They're going to come to you. They're going to go to their place. They're going to get rewarded with a high value treat for doing those things at the beginning. I talk a lot about high value treats. So, some kind of a reward, something. And you guys, you're going to have to use really, 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 really good treats for this, because to do something else when they have been self-rewarding by barking over and over and over again, we have to change that behavior. And so it takes time, and it takes the high value treats. It means that we need to get them to do something that they want to do even more than bark at the postal worker or just a person walking by the street by your home. So the great question, and I hear you about that. So the noise, what you can do again is put some music on, block that area, and also if you can anticipate, set up, Shauna, this is a good time when you could set up having friends walking by at certain times of the day. And before they come by, you're going to have already in place practiced getting them to pay attention to you instead of the noise outside. And this, again, I will talk about tonight in my masterclass, Keep Your Dog's Attention. And I hope that you all can join me. If not tonight, because it's late for, I know a lot of people over in the UK and Scotland, so like in Ireland. So like if you can not make it tonight at 7 o'clock Eastern, I'm doing another one tomorrow during the day at 1 o'clock Eastern time. So that's dinner time over in the UK and Ireland. So we would be able to help reach you guys at a reasonable hour. So I have a couple classes coming up tonight and tomorrow, and we'll talk more about what those things are and how to have them keep our dog's attention, how to have them focus on us instead of barking at everything they see. And this, both of you, happen to mention things about going on inside, but it goes on outside too, right? Like on our walks, where, my dog, I know if I am not on top of it, she has the tendency to bark at every dog. And she's great now with squirrels and other animals. The deer, we live in the woods, so if a huge herd of deer comes by, sometimes I can't catch it in time. Yeah, we're still working on that one. But for the most part, she can get more excited about me. We even have a home. I don't know if you guys have this experience. I'll share this one last experience before we end, is that we have a neighbor who lives a few doors down who has a couple of really big dogs. And, my dog is really little. And one of them got off leash in the home and came out and scared my dog. It didn't get close, thankfully, and nothing bad happened necessarily, except it scared my dog a lot. So now every time we walk by that house, I feel Jilly like tense up a little. So we worked on desensitization because I was like, I live in a cul-de-sac. I live in a circle. Like there's no other route for me to take. I have to walk by this house. So I was like, we have to get over this somehow. So we worked on it. We don't go very close to the house. We're on the other side. We go behind a car. I throw a lot of high value treats down when we are even getting near that house, and she is much better at it. It is not as stressed out about it. So we're able to walk without her, because she used to when it first happened, she would bark at the house even if the dogs weren't outside. She was like defending herself. And so I worked really hard on getting her to feel safe, even though she was on a leash and couldn't get away and couldn't do anything else. So there are ways to do it. We can, get over the barking in the house and outside. Both of those things are big. They're both big. And Emma says, fortunately, he's not too bad outside, but I guess it could develop into that if not tackled. Yeah, I mean, it can. So, it's important to have your dogs pay attention to you, to me, like to us, to figure out like how we can support them to keep their threshold below threshold, their stress levels, and work together. So just to summarize the barking, one, we need to recognize what kind of barking it is. We need to recognize how often they're barking. We need to, if they bark out the window or door of when they're inside the home, to block the area as best you can. And I gave plenty of examples as far as putting up an X pen, closing the door, covering the windows somehow. And then we need to be patient and practice these alternate compatible behaviors. We need to get to work. Let's get to work and start training. So come with me to my masterclass tonight. We're going to start training right away. I have some great bonuses set up for you when you show up live. I call them treats just because, we work with dogs. So I've got some great treats for you guys. And I really am excited about this. I'm going to hop off now and get ready for it. And maybe I'll hop on later today just to remind y'all that it starts at 7 o'clock Eastern time tonight. And I will look forward to seeing you then. Take care. Have a great rest of your day.